So we don't apply clay on places where it would be an extra unnecessary step. So in all green building, we try to minimize the building. So, for example, if we have sheetrock, that's already a surface that you could color, and then be done with. So we tend not to put clay onto sheetrock because it's just like two steps that one of them is unnecessary. However, over cinder block, the aesthetics of cinder block is too industrial for this residence. So we decided to cover it with clay. And of course the clay has the benefits of all these other elements. So it adds a lot to the building that cinder block wouldn't add. Another place where we tend to add it a lot, being Brooklyn brownstones, New York brownstones, is the party walls are always brick. And so if they don't want the exposed brick, clay is a wonderful option. The other thing is that if the brick is in bad shape and it has holes, you don't want the air movement between the buildings. Again, clay is a phenomenal filler for filling in the holes. And it's a much, much healthier option than some of the other options that people use, like ThoroSeal and other synthetic paints and fillers. Clay is locally sourced on the East Coast and incredibly healthy, or not harmful, at least. So when people say clay wall, they really only have 20% of clay in the wall. The rest is aggregate and bonding and filler. And there's no hard and fast rule. Depending on where you are, you're going to have different materials. So ours has a mix, and it changes each time we make our clay because we experiment. This one has some silica sand, some white sand, some marble dust, and calcium carbonate, a bunch of sawdust, and some wood glue. And so what this stuff does is it has different textures, different sizes, and different bonding characteristics, so that they all kind of fit together in a nice little shape. And then the application is really the key. So you'll notice that this has kind of been burnished. So what that means is they press it down, and the finer particles come to the surface and create almost like a shiny surface. The thing about the clay is that it doesn't go through a chemical reaction like, say, plaster does, or stucco. So once you apply the plaster or stucco, it bonds and goes through a chemical reaction where it can't be undone. Yeah. It becomes a new material. Whereas with clay, it doesn't go through a chemical reaction. And so you can reapply it, you can patch it, you can take a little part down and mix some water with it and put it somewhere else. So it has much more flexibility. The other thing about the fact that it hasn't gone through a chemical reaction is that it's still alive in the sense that it can absorb and release water. So the actual clay acts like a sponge. And that's why the clay is the key ingredient, because the silica, the calcium carbonate, the marble dust, the sand, that's already gone through a chemical reaction way back when, and it doesn't absorb or release water. It might hold water around the particle, but it doesn't actually take it inside the particle, whereas clay does do that, and that's why clay is the active ingredient in this. And the clay acts as a sponge to absorb water when the room is humid, and then it slowly releases it when the humidity in the room leaves. So it takes away the peaks and the valleys of the humidity. So it makes the room more moderate, more temperate, more pleasant to be in.